Good evening. My name is Ora Houston, and I want to thank you first for your service. I'm here also to debunk the myth that the mayor and members of the council are elected at large. The fact that everybody votes for all places and for the mayor. I want you to consider this. For the past 40 years, you don't take that off my time? Okay. I know him. For the past 40 years, the city has had 2 mega districts which elect our city official. District 1 has 10% of the population. That includes downtown, West Austin, and Northwest Austin. This district has identified, funded, and elected more than half of all council members and 15 out of 17 mayors. District 2, that's 90% of the rest of us. This district elected less than half of all council members and 2 mayors. And we're in South Austin now, and currently 42% of our citizens live in South Austin. Yet over these past 40 years, they've only been able to elect 17.9% of the council members and 1 mayor. So let me restate the 3 elements of Mega District 1. 10% of the population. They identify, fund, and elect the majority of the council. There's an additional element. The overwhelming majority of these elected officials live in this mega district. Now, I also knew the men who designed the gentleman's agreement, and they were good people who were trying to do the right thing at that time. However, then and now, campaigns are funded through Mega District 1. My second point is access. Access to the people who represent the other 90% of the population. Other than a handful of elected officials over the past 40 years, everybody else lives somewhere else. Mega District 1. With smaller districts, officials will live in an area with people who elect them. You can see them walking and talking in the community at HEB like I did with Gus Garcia and his wife. My last point is accountability. With smaller geographical districts, there is a hope, a glimmer of hope, for increased accountability and a sense of obligation to the people who elect them. A person who actually lives in the area is more knowledgeable and aware of the people and the critical issues that they face. For 40 years, the majority of the council has lived in Mega District 1. It is difficult, if not impossible, for a person living in District 1 to be informed and committed to the issues in District 2. The power has been and continues to be in the hands of the 10%. It's time for a change. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Houston.
Good evening. I'm Stan Coleman with the Austin NAACP here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to speak towards the redistricting, of course. 2 federal judges, Roberts and Nolan, have found that Austin is the largest city in our nation that elects 1 African American and 1 Hispanic on an at-large system, or as we now know, a 2-district system. This, in effect, was ratified by a gentleman's agreement that was made in 1977 between Bill Youngblood and Ed Weldler. That, in effect, guaranteed that there would be 1 African American and 1 Hispanic elected. That agreement, however, was not enforced in 1988, so I'd like to mention that. The effect of these court cases is that any plan for geographic representation must meet the same standards of creating the opportunity to elect at least 1 African American and 1 Hispanic. Otherwise, under Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, that plan would do less to commit what would be retrogression, and that would be unacceptable by the Department of Justice. Now, because the African American population in Austin has steadily declined over the last 40 years, where we have a number now near 7.7%, whereas the Hispanic population during that same period of time has increased steadily. But the critical issue here is how many districts does it take to draw a legally acceptable African American district? These are the two federal court cases that require us to have one African American district that will pass DOJ requirements under the Voting Rights Act and muster under the Voting Rights Act, I should say. Austinites for geographic representation have tried the 8 and 10 district plans. The 10 district plan is the only one that provides an African American district that will meet DOJ standards of an African American opportunity district. Thank you. Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here. My name is Stuart Snyder. I'm the president of the Austin League of Women Voters, and I've come to tell this commission about the League's current position on single-member districts. Since the early 1970s, or perhaps even 1970, we have been on record with support for a hybrid plan of representation. That's been the case for 40 years. We are now reviewing that to include, possibly include, a position that supports a district-only City Council representation and election plan. We're very attracted to the proposal put forth by Austinites for geographic representation, in particular because it has the provision in there for a citizens redistricting commission. That kind of thing could be taken out of the League policy. I mean, it's participatory, it's transparent, it involves citizens. We really like that provision of this plan. So I wanted that to be on record that I think that should be part of any provision going forward for single-member or geographic districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Mr. Lewis, one moment. Mr. Snyder.
Cross-examined.
Oh, cool.
Not really. I'm just curious if the League has concerns about a system that has only six single-member districts, as opposed to 8, 10, 12, 14.
We don't have a position on the number of districts required. But by inference, the position we now have was written in the 1970s when 6 members would not have created the problem you're referring to. So I think if we were to look at numbers now, we would probably raise that as an issue. But our current position is let's, in fact, we're kind of in a hurry-up mode right now to get the members together and to discuss the possibility of getting behind the AGR proposal with 10 districts, and we will be talking about the number of districts at that meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be very brief. I'm here to ask you to consider supporting the effort of the group called Austinites for Geographic Representation, who are proposing a 10-1 single-member district or geographic representation, coupled with a nonpartisan citizens redistricting commission that will be responsible for drawing the districts. And it will ensure that these are approved by the Justice Department while ensuring that representation is fair for all citizens of Austin. And I want to speak to it from the perspective of a candidate, because I ran about a year ago and I realized what all candidates go through. And one of the things that I think is best thing is that anybody can run as a candidate without having to, you don't have to sell your soul in order to run. You don't have to raise a lot of money if you have a 1/10 of the city to run for. And not only that, but you get to know the people that you're going to be representing, and they will get to know you. And basically that's it, just that it gives people a chance who don't have any money to aspire to be a candidate and to serve their community well.
Sounds like common sense to me, Ms. Sosa. Thank you.